Sarah, I'll go to you on this point because there's an economic plan, they say. She's calling that certainly, the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, but it's been slammed by Queensland's Chamber of Commerce and Industry as neither visionary nor detailed, more of a rehash of old announcements. Now, Victoria's looking to see a plan on Sunday. I'm concerned about places like the Great Ocean Road. You know it well. How does it open up for tourism come summer and do it safely, or we're going to be pushed by Daniel Andrews into locking down the state and making it really tough for businesses to survive?
Well, Peter, there is absolutely no doubt that there is profound concern, and I've had phone call after phone call today from businesses in the Geelong and Great Ocean Road region really worried about how the Victorian government is going to reopen the economy. As Josh Frydenberg has said, this is probably the worst public policy failure that we have seen from a state government in history. Not just the hotel quarantine disaster, but the disaster with contact tracing. Essentially, the Victorian government really has lost control. They have not got a sophisticated system in place like New South Wales, where they're managing the hotspots properly. And so this whole approach of shutting down the state is really based on very poor public health premise and, of course, so damaging. And the other concern is now that if regional Victoria is opened, then everyone from Melbourne will swarm to regional Victoria, including the tourism hotspots. And then that will be out of control, and we'll have the other situation occurring where we have mass crowds. So, look, I think the bottom line is Victorians have lost so much faith in Daniel Andrews' capacity to manage the coronavirus pandemic. And again, we still have not seen any sort of roadmap, and that is eating into the huge dissatisfaction from Victorians.
I just want to mention something I discussed. I just want to move on to something, if you don't mind, Bridget, because last night, in a phenomenal response, both on Facebook and on this show, I had your colleague, Minister Tudge, on talking about a bill before the Parliament to stop people in detention who are about to be removed from Australia, many of them criminal, from having phones if those phones are being used, you know, to pass around illicit information. We know about child pornography and other things. Let's have a listen to the Minister last night.
They failed to realise, Peter, that now 70% of all of the people in the immigration detention facilities are actually people who are being kicked out of the country because of a serious criminal record. 70%.
So we have these cases, Bridget, we see the detainees, we're told Border Force see them with their phones, with child pornography material, distributing it. They cannot access those phones. They cannot confiscate phones. They can't search for illegal drugs. You're trying to change that with a law in the Parliament, and Labor say they will not support it. Why?
I mean, it's just incredible. The Labor Party wants to be the alternative government in this country, and your number one job as a government is to keep your citizenry safe. So when faced with the bald-faced facts that these people are using their mobile phones to transmit illicit information, to delete key information that could assist our law enforcement agencies to find corroborators, etc. For Labor to actually be refusing to support us to give those powers to Border Force so they can actually act in a timely fashion, which is one of the issues that is just abhorrent and just shows once again they're more interested in playing cheap political tricks than actually behaving like an alternative government, because that means making the tough decisions to keep Australians safe.
How can anyone take Christina Keneally seriously? I mean, she's one of your colleagues in the Senate, Sarah Henderson, if she's backing in the criminals and the pedophiles like this.
Well, it is appalling, and of course this law means that for the first time Border Force officers will be able to seize mobile phones and other internet-capable devices, which frankly are being used for things like planning escapes, potentially terrorism, criminal conduct, and other heinous crimes, including child pornography. I cannot understand that Labor is again refusing to back this bill and leave not just the Border Force officers powerless, but also make it really unsafe for those working in detention centres, but also other detainees. This is, again, very, very poor judgment from Labor, and I really do condemn Labor for its stance on this bill, Peter.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, extraordinary. If the election had gone the other way, running home affairs right now would be Christina Keneally.